If everyone you ever loved suddenly started dying and turning into flesh-eating monsters, what would you do? You're trapped on a spaceship and no one is coming to save you. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the Necromorphs in dead space. These resource colonist wannabes have no idea they are all about to die. These guys are deep space mining this giant rock when they come across something sinister as hell. This massive structure, known throughout their galaxy as the Marker, an alien artifact of unknown origin worshipped by a cult-like group back on Earth known as Unitologists. These scientists then let the base know that they found a second Marker artifact, just like the one back on Earth, and they let their space station take it back for testing. Little do they realize that bringing this marker back with them will be the end for everyone on this planet. This is insane. We've just found the second marker ever in existence. Like, this is a huge deal. Now we know a little bit about it based on the religious text, but the fact that we found this on a dead planet with markings everywhere like someone has been here before means that I'd think twice before bringing this artifact back home with us. We still know very little about it. We do know, however, for a fact that this thing gives off extremely dangerous hallucinations to almost everybody, which means that this marker is more deadly than we think. They need to start treating this thing like a psychotropic weapon with capabilities to infect every living thing at close range. I mean, look at it. These guys have no idea what they're getting themselves into, and based on their reactions, are unprepared as hell to handle this thing, and it'll cost them. But there's one thing even bigger than the marker that'll have you wish you knew so much more about, and that is our sponsor for today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is amazing. I've been on there for a solid few weeks, and this is nothing like I had growing up. Like, seriously, there's two teachers that I really enjoyed learning from, and that is Donald Fitzgill and Aaron Lillis. Skillshare has so much to offer for newbies and seasoned pros like myself. There's something for everyone. VO, acting classes, audio editing, writing, marketing, and so much more. So whatever it is you're interested in learning more about, go to Skillshare. They can help you make 2022 a year of new learning growth through connection and creativity. So if you want to be the next great anime drawing artist, VO guy, video editing guy, whatever it is that you want to be, go to Skillshare and level up your game. Invest in yourself, because the first 1,000 people who use this link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. How amazing is that? And thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. This horrifying alien marker is then taken back to the planet's station, where it is held in waiting for a ship known as the Ishimura to take this artifact back home to Earth. But this is just the beginning. Over the next month, savage violence begins taking place among crew members on the planet's station, just as the Ishimura reaches the planet in time for the marker's extraction. However, some station crew members like this guy think this thing is cursed, and that this very artifact is the cause of all the murders recently. Too bad everyone else thinks this is all pure coincidence. Everyone except that guy and this girl named Alyssa, chief of the ship's security, who heads to the captain and informs him that she doesn't think the marker should remain on this ship for transport any longer, because ever since they brought the marker onto the Ishimura, the same upticks in crew violence that happened on the planet's station started happening again on the ship, the very same day they brought that marker on board. But the captain thinks she's crazy and blames all the murders and violence due to deep space fatigue, which is a cause from being in space too long. Alyssa then gets mad and wonders why this thing is so important. But the captain assures her that once his scientist studies it, then she'll be able to do a full analysis. Okay, I have a question. 1. Why won't the captain let the chief security officer do a full analysis first, before the scientist? Safety first, anyone? But while the captain may seem like he's taking this too lightly, he does have a point about the crew having deep space fatigue, because the reality is spaceflight puts an exorbitant amount of stress on the body, not to mention the high stress work environment and consistent pressure to perform without fault, and that puts space workers at all sorts of risks of developing emotional stress, with astronauts, for example, having an average of 3 to 58% 50% chance of developing post-traumatic stress disorder from simply being in space, compared to the 1 to 14% chance that the general public on Earth have of developing PTSD. And with this comes an 84% chance of alcoholism, 42% chance of drug abuse, 68% chance of depression, and 26% chance of antisocial personality disorder. And did I also mention that the Ishimura ship has been in space for already 2 years? That means that the chances for on-orbit and post-spaceflight psychiatric issues jump up exponentially. In short, folks, it's a huge coincidence that all these deaths began to occur as soon as that marker was brought in. But we can't deny that people who have been in space for too long have a way higher likelihood of losing their minds. And we gotta take this into account first, before blaming it on outside forces, right? Outside of the ship, the Ishimura then gets ready to crack this planet, a process done to deplete a planet's resources. Because of this, a massive gravity ray then beams down onto the planet, pulling an entire segment of the planet's crust right off, and this monolith rock begins ascending high into the sky, and we get to see the menacing nature of humanity's future potential. Back on the Ishimura, these doctors try to get to the bottom of why passengers have suddenly started going insane, and this crazy guy then mentions that he needed to kill because they need bodies to turn. But this doctor has no idea what the hell he's talking about and thinks he's crazy, blaming his hallucinations on the meds he's taking. Then this doctor comes in and asks what the hell is going on, but the nurse says that she's already gave him enough sleeping meds to put down a horse, around 500 cc's of anesthesia. Something is keeping him awake, and it's sure not the medicine. The doctor and the nurse eventually manage to put him back to sleep, and he walks outside to find even more lettuce-fresh corpses surrounding him. He knows something is going on, but what? This is insane. Think about it. This guy is way past any normal dose of anesthesia, around 5,000 milligrams, which is about 8,000 times over the average dose of anesthetic. This means that either this man weighs about 400 kilograms or something within his central nervous system is simply overpowering his state of being, because he should be out cold, if not dead, with that much sleeping drugs in his system. As a doctor, this would be outside of the realm of medical science, and I wouldn't overlook the subtle signs that something is seriously wrong with this guy. And the problem is, this guy was fine and normal a week ago, and in that time has gone from normal to full-on loco and murderous. Now, unless he experienced a severe bout of emotional stress or trauma, head injury, stroke, tumors, or something, I don't see how this man could go insane in that short of a time span, as mental cases usually come about in stages and over time. Also, the fact that multiple people just like him have started to go insane all of a sudden out of nowhere is beyond coincidence. Now, I get it, we're in space, you can go a little nuts, but how is it that people by the dozen are all acting the same way right now? Because we know for a fact that the marker causes hallucinations, which means that these medically trained professionals need to start looking at the obvious signs that something is about to go down on the Ishimura and maybe consider abandoned ship. The doctor escorts another corpse into a room full of dead bodies covered under crisp, blood-soaked white blankets, filling yet another room of victims of what's soon to come. Just then, a massive rumble hits the ship, causing concern with everybody on it. But the captain assures them that it is normal electromagnetic surges caused by this planet's magnetic field bleeding out, and they continue to extract resources from this chunk of rock, arousing more fear than curiosity among the concerned ship crew, who knows this time something doesn't feel right. But then all of a sudden, another massive rumbling, this time bigger than the last one, erupts across the entire ship, violently shaking everything and everyone, causing the captain to let out a little more fear in his reassuring words than he'd like. The crew doesn't know what's going on and thinks something is wrong with the ship, a temporary glitch perhaps? The captain then orders the ship to make contact with the colony back on the planet, but the crew mentions that the signal is choppy. Alyssa and Bald Guy here think that something from somewhere is intentionally cutting off their signal, but the crew laughs in her face. The ship finally makes contact with the planet's station and are told that the surface is not doing much better, with the entire land violently shaking, thinking all of this to be the cause from the rock that they extracted being too close to the planet's core. But this pilot back on the planet planet doesn't have time, because all of a sudden he sees the captain's call on the screen turn into a horrifying monster. He's losing his mind. And he's not the only one. Finally landing at the station, these two guys exit the vehicle, but just then they notice that something sinister is going on. The station is empty, filled with nothing but thick slime webbing and wall-hugging vines. It looks like nobody's been here in 50 years. But that's impossible. This guy thinks that something is off and parts ways with his doomed co-pilot, walking past a hallway when he suddenly hears distant screams, followed by a horrifying bellowing roar, coming from something terrifying. He begins to run for his life, passing more and more dead corpses until he finally reaches his room. But this room is like all the rest, covered in absolute mess and blood. This man desperately calls for his wife, but she's nowhere to be found. In the distance, this man hears some noise and his eyes widen. He sees his wife covered in blood and carrying an energized weapon, uttering the same words as the prisoner back on the Ishimura. They want our bodies. Tearing at her own body, she finally does the nasty and half slices her head off, dead. I guess the marriage was too much for her to bear. Okay, this guy may be a good husband, but he's a bad human. It's safe to say that 500 years in the future, when all of this takes place, that we as humans by then would be even more familiar with the classic horror tropes that are out and about. From the eerie, empty rooms to faint screams and monster roars from creatures that he doesn't see, not to mention the blood-stained room and signs of the marker in his own house. This man should have known that something not ordinary was about to happen and should have been more prepared than he was for what's to come. Also, our wife just cut her own head almost off. She is literally dead weight. I wouldn't stick around to mourn her much, and I would leave and get to the space station as soon as possible. Now, we don't know for sure where exactly this guy is, but if nearby, I would stop at the control room barracks if it was close enough first before grabbing weaponry, because let's be honest, this guy knew there was something evil down here the moment he and us heard those terrifying alien screams in the distance. So if he knows what's good for him, he'll arm up and get the hell out of there. Back on the ship, the doctor tells the captain that his last analysis on the marker revealed a large psychosomatic energy field unlike any other he's ever seen. But the captain still thinks that the energy field that's hitting the ship is coming from the planet and not the marker. The captain has gone way past denial and is now fast approaching suicidal. But just then, the ship finally gets in contact with the security cameras placed on the station back at the planet, and everybody in the room finally sees the horrors that are going on down there. Dead bodies everywhere, blood painted on the walls, and no one alive in sight. Alyssa then demands that they send a security team back to the planet, when all of a sudden, the onboard assistant reveals that she's getting multiple flatlines of everybody on the planet colony. More people are dying, and the screen turns blood red. They are being slaughtered, but by what? Meanwhile, back on the planet, this dude with his wife in his arms is running away from his room, running towards the same ship that he entered in. As he rests his wife down and starts the ship's thrusters, something flies into the ship right in the nick of time, and now his ship is on a course back to the Ishimura. The horror show has just begun, and everybody on board finally finds out that something back on the planet is attacking them. And this guy says that something is killing all of his men, saying that something is down there with them, until we hear a horrifying roar and the comm is cut off. Alyssa has had enough, and so has the doc, and he alerts the captain that they need to send in reinforcements ASAP. But the captain has been a bad boy, and no one can find out where they are, thanks to his illegal drilling operation on this planet's surface. And he demands the doc to keep his mouth shut. What's going on here is nothing like what the religious texts suggest, and the doc begs the captain to at least inform the Unitologist church about what's going on. But the captain apparently doesn't care, and is more worried about his crew, who most are either part of the religious church or are sympathizers with the Unitologist cause. He cannot afford a mutiny on his ship, and sets course to abandon the planet colony and head straight for Earth. He can't let anyone from the planet colony back on this ship because he knows what I'm pretty sure all of you now know. Everybody on the planet colony is about to die. Suddenly, they are alerted to an incoming ship. It's the guy and his wife, and they're headed straight for the Ishimura. Alyssa demands that they let the incoming ship on board, but the captain puts on his big boy voice and orders the ship to go on lockdown now. Okay, if I was the captain, I would agree. The Unitologist religion has spread far and wide among everybody, and we know just how dangerous some religious fanatics are, and how far they're willing to go for a cause. And judging from the marker's prominence and the fact that this entire mission is funded by the Unitologist Church itself, we might get some pushback if we tell our crew something they don't like. And based on the history of ship mutinies over time, the act of ship mutiny particularly means the open rebellion against the captain of this ship, the highest in command, which means we would be screwed if we don't play our cards right. And to top this off, we have a ship coming straight from the tainted planet itself. As stone cold as it is, we should probably do what the captain is saying, because if we don't, this incoming ship could be the start of a major outbreak, which is why we're better off locking down the ship and preventing the likely infectious disease that is on board that ship from entering ours. But if they do enter our ship, the ship should already have in place measures to quarantine and isolate incoming vessels from the jump. This is going to be able to help protect the crew and everybody on board the ship and help prevent exposure to whatever it is that is out there, including the closure of all ventilation systems present on the landing dock. So even if this ship makes it in, this should not be too big of concern if they set everything up right. Back on the incoming ship, the guy pilots the hell out of his cruiser, refusing orders to stand down, just as his corpse of a wife comes back from the dead and tears into his face. The captain forces all entrances on the ship to close, but the incoming ship just manages to sneak through one open pod bay door, and the ship comes crashing down onto the landing pad. It's go time. Alyssa and her security crew are ordered to go down there and secure and quarantine whatever the hell is on that ship. Suiting up and bearing some space clocks, the security team approaches the ship with caution, but something is not right with it. As they slowly enter the crashed ship, they witness the horrors of nothing. The ship is empty, except there is blood everywhere. Whatever was on board has slipped on through. They come across a hole at the front of a ship with trail markings leading out of the ship. It's official. Something is now on board the Ishimura. The team then moves out, hoping to find the source of all this horror before it's too late. Back in the quarantined lab, the crazy prisoner wakes up to a start, terrified of what he thinks he knows is going on, and something passes by him in the distance. He heads out, barefoot, past the doors, and right into a pile of blood. Blood leading right into the morgue. And this crazy prisoner proves that he's stupid enough to ignore the warning signs, and heads into the morgue. He comes across piles and piles of body parts and corpses covered in bloody goo, and that's when he sees it. In the distance, the most horrifying winged creature slicing into the forehead of a corpse, injecting it with something that then turns this body into the most terrifying thing this crazy prisoner has ever seen. A murderous DNA-altered space necromorph. And they come straight for this guy's throat, and the space prisoner tailcoats the hell out of there faster than the wind god Hanuman himself. But these necromorphs are too quick for their own good and stab him right through the gut, forcing him to come face to face with this competitor eater looking alien monster, ripping him to shreds. Okay, if I was a prisoner on the ship, I would have been way more cautious before exiting that room. I would have at least taken some weaponry or sedatives with me in case anybody tried to arrest me. But also, he just saw for himself blood on the floor and chose to head to the dumbest place one could go in a scary situation like this, the morgue. This takes place 500 years in the future. Hasn't anyone ever heard of every horror trope ever? It's obvious we know by now that something is going on, and due to the Ishimura's insane ventilation system, we stand no chance against whatever these things are due to the fact that they can reach us in almost any part of the ship. Once again, thanks to the damn ventilation systems, I would say screw the morgue and go to arguably the most protected parts of the ship. I would either head down towards the mining deck, the medical bay, or the bridge. Maybe not the medical if the cases down there have begun to surge, because these are the parts of the ship that will be the most heavily secured. I would also find some change of clothes along the way to pass off as a harmless passenger. But in any case, when it all goes to hell, and it will, I doubt anyone will care that my fake identity is not on the the passenger manifest. In the main control room, this glasses guy lets the captain know that it's official. They've lost all contact with the planet colony. And the doc thinks that the captain needs to let someone on Earth know just what the hell is going on here. But the captain yet again refuses, ordering the doc to go down to check on the marker. In other areas of the ship, a crowd is gathering right in front of where the proclaimed marker is, causing security around it to tighten. They suspect that something is going on, and it's all because of the one thing that they believe in, the marker itself. The doc arrives just as the workers get rowdy, but this unitologist believe-in ponytail guy here tells the doc that he can help calm everyone down, and he eases the heightened tensions that everyone is feeling, and he sends the angered crowds away from the marker, easing what everybody knows on this ship knows yet, that they are all about to die. The doc, while studying the marker, suddenly looks up and sees this horrifying corpse. Or does he? Back at the morgue, Alyssa's team reaches the gore-filled room, finding nothing yet again except the rummages of monsters who were once there. 20 corpses suddenly gone, and there's not a single one in this room. Alyssa then calls this in to the captain just as this necromorph wakes up right behind this guy, throwing him to the floor and gnawing at his flesh. Alyssa gets the thing off of him, and the crew joins in to help, flinging the beast away from them. But another one pops up before the team blasts it into oblivion. The gang wonders just what the hell is this, just as the captain radios in. But another monster comes in and is blasted in the face. Alyssa has had enough and orders the team to secure the room and move on. Nobody has any idea what's going on except the ship's doc, who tells the captain all of this is connected to the alien marker. What are they doing? We know that this thing on the ship is an infection of sorts, and as with any infection, the goal is to spread, to convert more hosts, and to spread the infection even further. And from what we've seen, it doesn't look like the infection can be spread through bites or scratches. It seems like the only way to spread is through death, that these things can be reanimated into the creatures that we now know. But at this point, it's safe to say that the infection is spreading faster than we can contain it. So our best bet would be to monitor and defend all key parts of the ship, vital to the continuing operation of managing the Ishimura. Depending on how many men we have in total on our security team, I would station them at the engineering deck, the hydroponics deck, which is necessary for the sustained production of the ship's oxygen. I would also place men at the medical deck, the computer core, where we'll be able to control remotely locking down and unlocking various areas. I would also place some guys at the tram system, the filtration system, and the captain's bridge. Doing this will be easier than running wild on a goose chase trying to catch whatever is already on the loose. The doctor is right. The marker's influence has taken over the whole ship and is turning everybody into horrifying necromorphs that hunt down and turn dead humans into alien-like creatures. There's no stopping these things now. The captain and crew see the horrors that plague the ship, and the captain sounds off the alarm, sending Alyssa to the mess hall to put a final stop to this. But it's too late. The mess hall is littered with corpses and even worse, this army of feeding necromorphs. Alyssa and her crew fire at the incoming army, who quickly overwhelm all of them and knock down a few key members, causing them to fight these demons at close range. The necromorphs have knocked over Muscles Guy, knocking this guy over and biting this blonde guy repeatedly. Alyssa knows they're outmatched, and she sees Muscle Guy get decapitated right in front of her, with Soul Patch Guy about to get ripped to shreds, till suddenly Ponytail Guy comes in hot and saves them all. Alyssa thanks Ponytail Guy for saving their asses, and the gang goes to collect the very same weapon that this unitologist lovin' fanatic is rocking. Alyssa contacts the pilot room where the captain is, but no response. This blonde guy then says that they need to get the hell out of there. But too bad Alyssa is too goody two-shoes to listen, and says that they need to save as many people as they can on the ship first before anything else happens. Honestly, why doesn't Alyssa just think about the reality of the situation? We're a small crew. We do not know much about these necromorphs. We're not going to be able to save many, if at all. How about we just listen to blonde douchebag over here, because there's no way that we can stop all of this. I would ask Ponytail Guy where he got his weapon from and suit up, because screw saving everyone here. Alyssa and her crew need to start thinking for themselves, and I would start by escorting them near the control room and flight room, specifically the captain's nest, because right near there is the one thing that'll guarantee we'll live to fight another day, and that is, dare I say, the escape pods, which are right next to the captain's observation area. I say screw the Ishimura, let's save our crew and get out of there. Alyssa and her crew then team up with Ponytail Guy, and the gang prepares to head back to the pilot room. At the pilot room, the staff staff alerts the captain that they've lost communication with everybody on the ship, and this causes the captain to sweat bullets. He orders the team to lock down all areas of the ship and plot a course for Earth immediately. However, the doc finally has had enough and argues with the captain that they both know that the marker is a trap. They need to get rid of it. But the captain demands that the marker to be delivered to the church if humanity is to have any chance of being welcomed at the universal awakening. And that's when it finally hits. The captain has clearly lost his mind, and now the doc knows. And so do all the crew members. The doc thinks the marker is causing the captain to be paranoid and delusional, and the captain demands that the doc be arrested. But the crew has had enough of the captain's insane orders and try to arrest him instead. The doc tries to get in on the psychotic fun and tries to stick the captain with a sedative, but misses and stabs his eye, killing the captain. Whatever he's doing has cut every single person on this ship off from the rest of humanity, and now everyone knows it. And just then, the ship ejects every single emergency pod that the ship has into space, forcing everyone to now be stranded and at the mercy of the Ishimura's horrifying demise. Whatever is doing all of this has cut every single person on this ship off from the rest of humanity, and now everyone knows it. All emergency shuttles have now gone deep into space. Back at Alyssa's group, the gang comes across more horrifying necromorphs that send the gang running into the utility lift and through these giant blast doors. But something is wrong with Blonde Hair Guy, and Alyssa notices. Blonde Hair Guy claims it's nothing as they enter this expansive vegetation room. Alyssa then asks Bald Guy to keep an eye on Blonde Guy, but he's too insane to keep under control, forcing Blue Hair Girl to knock him down. But then he begins muttering the same words that the psycho prisoner from earlier said, claiming that they want our bodies. Just then, this giant necromorph pops out and tries to attack Blue Hair Girl, and the gang acts quickly, slicing off all of its limbs and its baby little monsters left and right. But there's too many of them. More and more necromorphs come charging at everyone, slicing limbs left and right, and blood spurts everywhere. Blonde Guy even manages to slice Blue Hair Girl Hannibal style and charges at Alyssa. Blonde Guy has officially lost his mind before he gets shot in the head by Bald Guy. They know that it's official. The marker is making everyone lose their minds. Either they will all be killed by these necromorphs or they will kill each other. Back at the bridge, with the captain dead and having lost control of the ship, the crew thinks hard of what to do next. There's no way to contact Earth and no escape off of the ship itself, and it's only a matter of time until the monsters come in here to get them. Suddenly, they lose power and hear hard-hitting rumbles at the front door. The doors finally open up, but luckily, it's Alyssa and her crew. The crew tells Alyssa that the captain is dead and that they can't reach anyone on the comm, nor can Alyssa reach the rest of her squads. But just then, a huge alarm sounds off, and the guidance computer holding the ship up in orbit loses power. The Ishimura is now slowly falling out of orbit, being pulled by the planet, and if they don't do anything soon, they will all come crashing down into the planet itself. The crew then finds out that the person meddling with the ship's function is none other than the doc himself. Alyssa demands that they try and stop him, putting everyone else's safety above hers, and the crew heads out to find the doc. As they roam the corpse-filled hallways, Alyssa then hears panicked screams and finds some people trapped in a room, waiting to be eaten and skinned alive by these necromorphs. Ponytail Guy then sacks up and distracts the monsters as Alyssa sneaks in through the vent shaft to help the trapped passengers, saving countless lives, but losing Ponytail Guy as he fights these necromorphs to the death. Alyssa and her final teammate, Bald Guy, reach the computer room where the doc is, as he tries to bypass the locks, causing the attention of more horrifying necromorphs to head their way. But they don't have enough time, so like all his comrades before him, Bald Guy sacrifices himself to save Alyssa, allowing her to catch the doc red-handed and knocks him back, getting into a tussle between the two. The doc, being the man of science, says that he thinks the infection is too dangerous and that everyone on the ship all needs to die to ultimately save humanity from catching this plague. But Alyssa, being the badass babe that she is, refuses to give up and beats him the hell up before stabilizing the ship. But the doc runs off, and it's not over, because she's beginning to feel the effects of the marker too, and it's only a matter of time before she turns into one of them. Unable to reach anyone, Alyssa then reaches the place where it all began, the marker itself, just as she sees an army of necromorphs coming for her. She runs with all of her might, about to die until Until the Necromorphs stop chasing her. It seems as though the marker is preventing them from getting too close. But she's not out of the woods yet, because Alyssa passes out. Okay, you know what? We might be in a good situation right now, because we found the only spot on the entire ship where these flesh-eating bastards can't get us. So I say let's take it slow and use whatever we have to make the most of it. Everyone is dead, and the mission has failed arguably in every possible way. But we do have one thing on our side, and that is the miraculous feats of the human body itself. The human body can survive for up to 2 months without any food, but only up to 4 days without any water. If we're stuck here for the long haul, I would say wait it out until help comes, if ever. It's a long shot, I know. I'd say kick back for a few hours and let the initial appeal of ourselves towards the Necromorphs wear off. Then, as they eventually scatter around the ship, I would make a run to scavenge for water primarily, and food if possible, and that wouldn't be our main concern. We also have a computer with us which we can use for some sort of intel and or to monitor procedures happening on the ship to a degree. So I say let's make this plot of land right in front of our marker our new base, and slowly but surely begin running around for supplies over the next few days. At this point, this is Alyssa's best course of action. Waking up cold, feeble, and aimless, she then goes to record her plight onto a nearby computer flight log, telling the world the truth of what happened on the Ishimura, believing that the marker is the cause of all of this, and that whoever finds this message needs to destroy the marker. Alyssa signs out and begins the sequence to open the airlock doors, just as she runs for her sweet life onto the ship, right as the sealed doors begin to open and flood the room with the cold vacuum emptiness of space, ejecting every horror from that room out, including Alyssa herself, floating on the brim of Aegis 7's orbit, slowly succumbing to the silent screams of space. Suddenly, an incoming ship radios in on the Ishimura, hearing nothing but silence on the comms, and it prepares to board the cursed vessel, reigniting a new sequence of horrifying events that are about to unfold yet again.
And if you don't like sexy-ass space monsters coming for your flesh, then like, comment, let us know what you liked and of course didn't like, and don't forget to check out the How to Beat playlist down below.